What's up, guys? It's Toad back with you as always for Saturday, April 12th. On a nice run, man. 10-2 over the last 2 days, or 5-1 yesterday, 5-1 the day before that. I am happy about that. Oh, crap. It seems like my mic is like popping. Hang on. Let me fix this audio here. Why is it so fucking loud, dude? Hang on. Let me try to reduce this a little bit. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Hold on, I gotta just check. This is great content, obviously. Let me just make sure this audio is good because I watched the live stream briefly at the beginning and I'm like, what the heck? All right, I think this is fine. Let's go. So yesterday we had 5-1 day, like I said. We had Major League Baseball, Cleveland with the win, even though Tanner Bibby didn't do as well as I handicapped, like as well as I thought he was going to do. But Cleveland got the job done. White Sox certainly got the job done. Even though I took the run line with them, expecting another one-run loss from them, but they crushed my Boston Red Sox. It was not even close. It was like 11-1, easy win there. Anaheim was the only loss, and they looked like they got killed in that game, and they kind of did, but they were winning that game 2-1 in the fourth inning, I think, and then everything kind of unraveled, and they gave up 10 runs in 2 innings in the fourth and the fifth and just totally lost the game. But the thing that would have made me mad is if Anaheim covered the first 5 innings and didn't cover the full game, but that's not what happened. If they had won the first 5, I should say, and didn't win the full game, they didn't win either. So that was a loss. That was the only loss. And then we did have some late game magic with the Detroit Tigers, as that pitching matchup didn't go the way that I thought, but I went full game on it because I did kind of like the full game aspect of a full game handicap of it. And Detroit got the job done late with a late flurry of runs. They were down 4-1, I think, through the first 5 innings. So I know there were some professionals that disagreed with me on that one. If they took the first 5, then all of us won, and all of us are happy because the first 5 would have won on Minnesota. Full game, won on Detroit. Reese Olson continues to struggle, which is not really what I was expecting, but Detroit got the job done anyway. And then we did have the Denver Nuggets in the NBA losing basically all game outright, and then they still cover the -7. I think it was down to 6.5. I think I misread that one a little bit. I still liked the situation though, and they came from out of the hole, man. They came out of the hole and they won in the end and covered late. So I will take it. And I think it did come down to one final possession for who are they playing against? Memphis. Memphis, I think, had the ball one last time, and I'm like, please just don't hit a shot here, because Denver was up 9 at that point. I'm like, don't hit a shot. Definitely don't hit a 3 and blow this for me. But that line was down to 6.5 when the game went off, which is not totally what I expected. And then we did have another easy win after those 2 roller coaster games there. I think I got a little bit lucky, but hey, I deserve to get lucky sometimes, man, after how unlucky I've been getting recently and how bad March was. Turn this thing around. I mean, I told you, man, we have like down swings. Oh, that was the worst month I've ever seen. You do have down swings, though, and then you have these up swings. I mean, I know more down swings are going to come, but you got to just have more good than bad, basically. And I'm getting close to being even on the year again, at least. So after that terrible March, that's actually pretty good. Having a good April so far, and then the easy win at the end last night on the under in the Cubs-Dodgers game. Yamamoto continues to pitch well. The Cubs got shut out in that game, so it was no sweat, even though Boyd didn't do that great, and I still don't fully trust Boyd, but that was still an easy under in that one. Charles, that's right. Thank you, man. 5-1, 5-1, 2 nights in a row, man. Let's go to today. Today I have 3 hockey plays, 6 baseball plays. They're all sides. And yeah, I mean, let's get into it. There's no NBA today. So it's a big Saturday baseball card and hockey card, though. So hockey, we're going to get right into this right away, man. I actually have money on the first game here. Let me get this comment here. What do we got? Red Sox game. Yeah, I mean, that was a pathetic game for the Red Sox. I continue to have no faith in my Red Sox team there. That it's not looking good there. Yeah, I hedged my bias, I guess, but I don't factor bias into my plays at all, man. So at least I really try not to. Well, obviously everything's going to be biased, but I don't factor in like my home bias into any of that. Like I'll bet against my teams as often as I'll bet on them for the most part. I might bet against them more often if they're actually good teams, which isn't the case with the Red Sox right now. But People are thinking the Red Sox might be a playoff team this year. I kind of had hopes, but right now it's not looking that great. But that was just a bad spot, dude. Sean Newcomb, that guy should not be on the team. I don't know. I don't know who he is. I don't know where he came from, but send him right back to where he came from. Don't want Sean Newcomb anymore. Anyway, let's get into this. First game up, I do have a play on the New York Islanders. We're going to play some of these things just have to do with motivation, man. I know Philadelphia is up from minus 106 to minus 113 here. They look public for whatever reason, which doesn't make sense to me because they suck and they're eliminated, and the Islanders are fighting for a playoff spot still, and that is why I like the Islanders here. But it is a good spot for the Islanders, too, in my opinion, which I'll talk about in a second. 59% of tickets on Philadelphia. I don't even know if I believe that that's true. And 51% of the cash on the Islanders. But I just think this sets up nicely for the Islanders, man. I mean, Philly obviously eliminated. And, of course, they're still ahead of my Boston Bruins, the last place Boston Bruins. Really good good job there, guys. The New York Islanders, they're the last team staving off elimination right now. Basically, if they lose one more time, they're going to be eliminated. So this is desperation mode. They're not going to make the playoffs, but I think that they're going to show up with effort here, and they are the better team over the Flyers at the very least. Even though I don't think the Islanders are that good, the odds makers are still telling you they are the better team. The way this sets up, I think, is actually good. The Islanders, I mean, they're coming off just horrific performances defensively, losing to Nashville 7-6, which I was on Nashville in that game because the Islanders had just beaten Washington, which was a big win for them. Had played Minnesota the game before that and won that game too. So the Islanders are still beating some good teams. That was a bad spot. And then they came out of that and they just got wrecked by the Rangers, with both teams trying to fight for their lives here. The Rangers just absolutely destroyed them in this game. Statistically, I don't even know what the game looked like, to be honest. I didn't pay much attention to this game. The Islanders actually outshot the Rangers and were the more physical team and won the face-off percentage, yet they lost 9-2. I mean, part of the reason why they had more shots is because they were losing the game horribly right away. So that means you see the team like fire all these desperation shots. But still, I think that this game maybe wasn't really as much of a blowout as it looked. So I think the Islanders, after a horrific performance like that, I think you're going to want to bounce back from that, man. So I think that gives them even extra motivation coming off just an embarrassing performance. I think they're going to try to fix their defense here after two horrific defensive performances in a row. Going back out on the road, I think, is a good thing as well, because you just get to forget about what's going on in your city there. Forget about the fact that the media probably likes the Rangers more than they like you. I mean, the Rangers are the more popular team there in the New York area. Just get out of there. Go to Philly. Focus on hockey. You know, I think it's a better spot. In Philadelphia, they're coming off beating the Rangers. This is why I really like this spot, because you're looking at a team. Philadelphia just beat the Rangers, and not only did they beat them, but they kind of embarrassed them. It beat them 8-5. And yeah, I know they have an extra day off in there. Returning home doesn't really matter because they're already in. I mean, New York to Philadelphia, not a huge travel spot, but both teams are going from New York to Philly here. But that game, I mean, people are going to look at this and think, well, Philadelphia just crushed the Rangers and the Rangers crushed the Islanders. So this is obviously, maybe that is right that the public is on Philly, because why wouldn't you want to take Philly to just win the game here if that's the case, right? If Team A could crush Team B, Team B could crush Team C, obviously that means this is so easy. Team A should crush Team C, right? Well, I don't think that's the case. Like I said, Islanders are the only one of these two teams that have anything to play for. They're getting a small underdog price here, coming off that embarrassing loss. Meanwhile, Philadelphia beating the Rangers, I mean, that's a pretty satisfying win for them when you embarrass the team that like won the President's Trophy last year, one of the best teams in hockey the last few years. Big win for the Flyers. I know they're back home here. They do have one more home game, so it's not their home finale. So we'll go with the Islanders in that first game there. Yeah, Duke Nukem. Yeah, nuke him is right. Get him out of there, man. Get rid of this guy, dude. I don't even understand. I've never heard of this guy before this year. Next up, we're gonna play on the Columbus Blue Jackets as well. So I was looking at this board and I'm like, oh crap, I want plays on the first two games. Control yourself, Toad. Like, what are you doing? You're gonna play every game? I'm not. I only have one other game besides these, but this is similar to that other game. And yeah, I know I'm playing on Columbus again, the team that has really hurt me recently, but they're back on my good side because they won for me the last time I played them. So now my Stockholm Syndrome is back in effect here, with the Columbus Blue Jackets here. But this is a game where nobody is going to take Columbus here, man. And look at what has happened with this line now. They've gone from a plus 142 dog to now kind of laying a price at minus 108. So there's a ton of money coming in on Columbus. I don't know that I would want to lay a favorite price on them. I found them at plus 115 like 30 minutes ago, and this line continues to move, even though Washington looks like they have 88% of the cash on them and 64% of tickets. I mean, obviously the public is going to come in on Washington because they're going to think, oh, Washington has the best team in the best record in the conference. Columbus sucks, so we're going to play Washington, right? Because they're the better team. And the price looks way too easy, especially if they're going to wind up being an underdog. But again, I don't think that's the right way to look. Columbus is the only one of these teams that has anything to play for. Again, I'm worried that this line is going to get a little bit too far out of control because I wouldn't really want to lay a favorite price with Columbus, although you're pretty much just picking them to win the game. But finding them at an underdog price, that's the way that I want to go here. I mean, maybe if it's still like in the pick'em range, maybe you still want to do it. I mean, I do think they will win the game. Washington has nothing to play for, man. I mean, not only do they have nothing to play for, I mean, they literally have nothing to play for now. They have clinched the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference at this point. They're far ahead of everybody in the Eastern Conference, though Winnipeg actually has more points than they do now. Washington, we'll talk about Winnipeg in a little bit. Washington, not only have they clinched the Eastern Conference, so they have absolutely nothing to play for now. They did it by beating Carolina in a shootout. That was a huge win for them, winning in a shootout against one of the other, one of their main competition in the Eastern Conference, one of the other best teams in the conference in Carolina. So I think this is a bad spot. Now they're going to Columbus, and as we know, Columbus is one of those teams that's still hanging on for dear life here. Columbus in a little bit of a better spot than the Islanders are. They still can kind of maybe even see this, as they're only 6 points out of the second wild card spot right now. Columbus, I think they're going to keep fighting here, man. As far as Columbus is concerned, they are on a 2-game win streak, which I think is just going to give them some momentum here. I mean, beating Buffalo is not going to be anything that's going to impress you. And they barely got through that game. And they actually used Greaves in net. So that does mean their best goaltender will be back in net here with Elvis will re-enter the building here. So I like Columbus. And these games are up early, man, in less than 2 hours now, 12:30 Eastern. So we're going to find out how good my hockey day is going to be real fast with these 2 afternoon games. We got a bunch of afternoon action. I think most of my baseball action is a little bit later. But Columbus is just staying at home as well. And again, they're the only one of these 2 teams that has anything to play for. So the line is a bit misleading looking because obviously Washington is the better team. But Columbus is the way to go in this one, in my opinion. That is what we'll do. The C hole over the W hole. Thank you for watching Tower Gang this week, man. I'm gonna knuckle my T hole when I'm done with this to fix my back. Yeah, I got what you were saying, man. I get what you're throwing down. I can decrypt that. The Rangers are still fighting, as I said, against Carolina. Carolina can kind of advance their seeding still, I think, or possibly lose their current seed, but I don't think that's that much of a motivator. So I would lean to the Rangers in this one. Rangers, I believe, also coming off that, or no, they're coming off that easy win over the Islanders. I was going to say that was after their embarrassing loss to Philly. So I don't quite want to do this one, but the Rangers, again, they're a huge underdog here, and they're fighting for their lives here. Carolina is returning home from a road trip, a 4-game road trip, and coming off that big shootout game against Washington. So I think Carolina is actually in kind of a bad spot there. As I always say, when you return home from a road trip, tends to be a bit of a distracted spot. You have to get back to home life, so that's not that great. So the Rangers would be the only way I would look in this one, although the money is coming in at Carolina from minus 185 to minus 195. 51% of tickets, 84% of the cash coming into them. I don't agree with that. I would only grab the huge underdog price of the Rangers or just not play the game. The LA Kings are laying a huge price against Colorado, which must mean Colorado must not have that much to play for anymore. I don't really understand exactly what's going on with the seeding here. They are 6 points behind the Stars and 7 points ahead of Minnesota, so they're fairly locked into that 3 seed. So I guess Colorado doesn't have that much to play for. The Kings are still trying to hold on to the 2 seed if that matters to them. They actually still have a chance to drop, I think, out of the playoff race, I think, because Calgary, I think, is the next team in the Pacific Division. that could get in there. So I don't really think so. Although LA could, I don't even think they could drop to the wild card actually, because Minnesota and St. Louis are both in the Central. So I don't know, but for whatever reason, the Kings are laying a huge price here, even though Colorado is a pretty good team. So I don't know what the deal is here. Kings up from minus 145 to minus 186. It's got to mean that Colorado has some lack of motivation, or they're not playing all their players in this game or something like that. I don't know what the deal is there, but I'm just not going to do anything with that game. Let's see what else. Montreal Toronto is an interesting one. Toronto's laying a huge price as well. So the thought is that Toronto's still going to want to show up and play in this game, as they only have a 2-point lead over Tampa in their division. So they are playing for seeding, although again, I don't know how much seeding really matters, man. As I said, we see time and time again lower seeds run through the Stanley Cup tournament, or the Stanley Cup playoffs, man. You see all kinds of seeds get through in this thing. It's very wide open in hockey. So I don't know that seeding really seeding might matter the least in hockey out of all the sports. Even though you do get home ice. Home ice isn't worth that much. It's only about minus 120. So that's why we love hockey, man, because it's such a close game. But yeah, seemingly Toronto is going to show up in this game. Montreal obviously is also going to show up because they're still trying to hang on to the last wild card spot with that 6-point lead over both Columbus and the Rangers, and actually Detroit as well. So I think it's too much of a price to lay on Toronto. So I'd probably lean to Montreal, because Montreal obviously has more to play for to hang on to the wild card spot. Toronto down from minus 230, minus 227, 59% of tickets, 69% of the cash coming in on the Toronto side. Yeah, this is all very seedy. Yeah, some of these cities are definitely really seedy, which is where we're going right now. We're going to one of the seediest cities, which is Chicago. And I told you I was going to talk about Winnipeg, and I'm fading Winnipeg. I'm going to take the Chicago Blackhawks in this game, and you can get them at plus 1.5 on the puck line at minus 110, it looks like right now. So you can just basically play them as a spread bet. And if you do that, of course, throw about 10% of the bet on the money line, I would say here, because it's hockey. These are all games that when you play the underdog, it's going to be a winnable game in hockey for them potentially. So throw a little bit on the money line there. But this is a bad spot for Winnipeg, man. Winnipeg, they have the best record in hockey right now. They overtook Washington. They're sitting here. They got a 6-point lead over Dallas, who has the next best point total, who's actually in their same conference, which is interesting. But Winnipeg, not only do they have that lead, not only did they overtake Washington and pad their lead against Dallas, but they did so by shutting Dallas out. So Winnipeg just beat basically 2 playoff teams here. If you assume St. Louis is indeed going to make the playoffs, a tough spot for them. They went back out on the road, beat Dallas. Huge win for them, shutting out Dallas. I mean, Winnipeg almost has this thing wrapped up at this point, and now they have to go and face Chicago, the lowly Chicago Blackhawks. And who do they have up next? The Edmonton Oilers, the conference champions from last year, Edmonton, who they did beat the last time they played them, but in an overtime thriller of a game there. So obviously that's a much bigger game as well against Edmonton. When you're Winnipeg, you're playing out the stretch. You don't have a whole lot left here. Those final 2 games are at home as well. So I think the game that matters the least to them left on their schedule is absolutely this game against Chicago. It's a sandwich spot. Winnipeg probably feeling pretty good about themselves now, having the number 1 overall record here. And maybe they don't even want it, again, because like I said, the President's Trophy team is constantly cursed. I mean, that just has to do with how even hockey is. The President's Trophy team basically never wins. I don't think the President's Trophy team has won the championship since, I don't know, probably over a decade. I don't even remember when the last time it was. So maybe they don't even want that. But Chicago, I think, is the right side here. In Chicago, yeah, they're returning home from a road trip, but it was only a 2-game road trip that didn't take them really very far. I mean, it was only to Pittsburgh and Boston. Now coming back home with time off in between them, I don't think it's a typical distracted return home spot. And how could you be distracted when you have Winnipeg coming into your place, the team with the best record in hockey, and this is Chicago's home finale. It's their only home game in the last 5 games on the schedule. So I think they're absolutely going to go all out in this game. And let's make it even better. Soderblom played their last game in net, which they won anyway against Boston, which I told you the Bruins were going to lose that game. I probably should have bet it. So that means Knight is going to be back in net for Chicago here, almost certainly, who is their better goalie. So this lines up really nicely for a play on Chicago, man. As ugly as that looks, take the Blackhawks as the underdog there in that one. I like it. And then as far as the rest of these teams go, I don't know what else to even say about this. Utah's eliminated. Now Dallas is coming off that tough loss to Winnipeg there, which is a big game. So you get emotionally up for that game. When you lose that game, sometimes it hangs you over. But then again, Dallas did get shut out. So maybe Dallas will still show up in this game. However, I will point out there is significant money moving against Dallas here, down from minus 190 to minus 143. Public is on them. No surprise there. 75% of the tickets, but 96% of the cash on the Utah Hockey Club. So a lot of money's coming in against Dallas in this one. I don't know if I fully understand it, because I think when you get shut out like that, it will motivate you a little bit. And this is Dallas's final home game, so I don't quite understand the market move there. Sure, Utah would like to win, against Dallas. Dallas is a good team, but I just don't really see it in that one as far as why the money would be moving that significantly, at least. I wouldn't be shocked if Utah won the game. I'm not saying that, but I don't really see it as being a great one to bet. Minnesota at Vancouver. We know Vancouver's eliminated. Minnesota, they got to keep fighting. They just lost to Calgary. Calgary is the only team left that's not eliminated, that's out of the playoff scenario right now, out of the playoff picture, and that was last night. So Minnesota lost that big game to Calgary last night. They have their home finale up next. They have to play on a back-to-back, a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. So even though, Minnesota's gonna have to show up here because they want to hang on to their wild card spot here, but this is not an easy spot for them. In Vancouver, I know they're eliminated, but I think Vancouver could be motivated here with one of the playoff teams coming into their place. One of the teams in their division, or not in their division, actually, excuse me. Vancouver's in the Pacific. What am I saying? Vancouver, though, the problem I have with that is that they're coming off 3 big games in a row against Vegas, Dallas, Colorado, winning the last 2 of those games on the road at Dallas and at Colorado. With the pressure off Vancouver, they've been playing really well, but they're also coming off huge wins there. So I don't see this being very bettable in Vancouver either. And Minnesota does need to win. They need the game more than Vancouver does, so they do have motivation. Vancouver down from minus 140 to minus 111, 59% of tickets, 89% of the cash coming in on Minnesota. So the money is coming in on Minnesota. The Blackhawks in 13. What do you mean? What does that mean? I don't even know. And then we got, let's see. St. Louis. I do lean to St. Louis in this game against Seattle because St. Louis, they're the only team that has somebody to play for. You look at this wild card race, like I said, Minnesota, they need to stay ahead of Calgary, man. It's getting a little bit close with that loss to Calgary, and it's making it a little bit close for St. Louis as well. So St. Louis, they got to show up in this game, man. So I lean to St. Louis. This is the closest to being a play for me that I left off my card. I was very close to playing St. Louis in this game because they're the only one of the teams that's motivated here. Seattle is returning home from a long road trip. They've been on the road since April 2nd, my birthday. So they've been away for 12 days. They're returning home now. They went into elevation. They did return to the Pacific times, or they actually stayed in the Pacific time zone for the most part. So they didn't shift time zones at least, but still a long road trip. Returning home here. They do still have a final home game up next on ESPN, which will be a big game against the Kings in their home finale. So I don't love the spot for Seattle, and they just played Vegas pretty close. I took Seattle to cover the puck line there, and they did. So I don't know that I love Seattle in this spot here. So we will see about what happens in this game. But again, when you return home from a road trip, again, you tend to get a little bit distracted. You got to return back to family life, especially if you're an eliminated team like Seattle. Might be a little bit more difficult to get that motivation up there. St. Louis has got to have the motivation here, man. Again, because they are trying to hang on to that wild card spot. The problem that I have with that is that they're playing a 3rd straight road game, and they might be a little bit hung over here because they beat Colorado, then they lost to Winnipeg, which ended their long win streak. And I told you I thought that would hang them over into the next game, and they played tough against Edmonton and only lost the game by 1. And they not only did they only lose by 1, but I think they lost that game in the final minute of the game or the final 30 seconds of the game. The type of loss that will just kind of rip your heart out. So I don't think I can play St. Louis just for that reason. They were so close to beating Edmonton. So I'm just going to stay off of it just for that reason. I do lean to St. Louis, but now it looks like maybe this is a good stay away because the money when it looked like it was coming in on St. Louis earlier. Now it looks like it's completely flipped, and they're down from minus 135 to minus 128. They did look like they had the money on them. They were up to minus 140 something with the cash percentage on them, but now the cash is all in Seattle. 87% of the cash, 71% of tickets on St. Louis. So maybe it was like a false early move to try to drive the line up and get a better number on Seattle. So I'm staying away from that one. Probably a good thing that I am. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be surprised if St. Louis wins. They are the favorite. Oh, the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup. The Blackhawks won the President's Trophy. Oh, don't remind me of that. Fuck. I should have known what you were talking about. Yeah, you got to remind me of that when the Bruins lost that Stanley Cup final, and they absolutely should have won that final. They should have won the one against the Blues even more so, though. I mean, that was even more ridiculous. But yeah, the Bruins lost that one. Kind of bullshit, man. I didn't remember that Chicago won the President's Trophy that year, but that might be true. All right, let's go over to baseball, and then I'll get out of here. I do have 6 baseball plays here. I mean, a lot of these games, I just got to stay away from and don't really want to play a lot of these games. I mean, you do have Job in this Detroit-Minnesota game. Baseball doesn't start until 2:10 p.m. today, which is interesting. On Saturday, I'm used to there being noon time games, but I guess times have changed. This Job guy, or Joby, however you pronounce it. I know I've been on him in at least one of these 2 games, or I think maybe I was on the under in one of them and it didn't get there. I forget what it was, but he's just walking too many guys right now, man. 7 walks to 7 strikeouts, 2 home runs allowed. He's not been very hittable, though, so I think maybe he's going to be a decent young pitcher and start turning this around. And Minnesota has never seen him before, so I probably still would lean to Job. Chris Paddock is just not good for Minnesota, man. I mean, we haven't seen anything out of him this year so far. I mean, his walk numbers are terrible as well. More walks and strikeouts is a huge red flag. Almost 2 hits per inning is a massive red flag as well right now. Paddock not getting the job done. And he's a little bit older. He was supposed to be kind of this young guy who was supposed to be a guy who was going to do well in the majors, and it just really has not panned out for him. After a decent season with San Diego, that first season, other than that, he has not been good. So I don't know if it was the COVID stuff just totally disrailed him or derailed him, I should say, or if it was that just the hitters had to get used to what he was throwing. And then since then, hasn't been good, although his strikeout walk numbers are actually good on his career. So his problem really has been that he just allows, I think, too many home runs and gets hit too hard. So I don't know what the deal is, but I don't trust him at all. Detroit hits him well. 350 batting average, 981 OPS against. So I would lean to Detroit here, but I just don't think I can quite do it. And the money is actually coming in on Minnesota for whatever reason, up from minus 115 to minus 126, 55% of the cash on them, 65% of tickets coming in on Detroit. So the market read is on Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota has the edge in the starting pitching matchup at all. And you know me, if the starting pitching matchup isn't advantageous, I probably will not be playing on that side in baseball. Like, if anything, I'll be playing on the other side, or I'll be leaving the game alone. And in this one, I'm just going to leave it alone because I don't like what I see in the market. And I got to get back to paying attention to the market a little bit more here. Philly and St. Louis. Do I really want to talk about every one of these games? I probably don't, but Christopher Sanchez actually has really good numbers against St. Louis. They're only 1 for 13 off him with no walks or extra base hits. So he's done really well against St. Louis. He's a pretty decent pitcher. He's got a decent whip so far this year. Miles Mikolas, I can't say the same thing about this guy who's getting up there in age. He's more of a control pitcher, and he's not doing well so far, mostly because he got absolutely annihilated by my Boston Red Sox, allowing 11 hits in 2 2/3 and 8 earned runs. That is brutal. So, I mean, I don't think he's going to do that bad here. He should bounce back a little bit, but his numbers against Philly aren't great. I mean, they're kind of in that mediocre range, 272 average, 742 OPS against. Not bad enough that I'm going to quite jump on Philly here, but I do think Philly does have the starting pitching matchup here. And again, you got to look at what these teams did yesterday as well. Like, look at what's going on with the bullpen situation and stuff like that. The money is coming in of Philadelphia, and I do agree with that one generally. Philadelphia up from minus 140, minus 163. That is quite a price to lay, though, with Philly on the road. 86% of tickets, 96% of the cash coming in on them. Again, I'm going to leave the game alone in this one. St. Louis also, they did win yesterday, even though it was a return home spot. They still won against Philly yesterday, which surprises me that Palante continues to perform better than I think that he should based on his other stats. But generally, yes, I agree with Philly here. I think they do have the starting pitching edge in that one. I would probably give the pitching edge to the Yankees, but I'm not going to play this game either. Against San Francisco. San Francisco beat the Yankees yesterday in I guess a rain-shortened 6-inning game yesterday. One of those weird ones where the game is past the 5-inning mark, so it's considered to be a what is it? Not a complete game, but whatever they call it. It's an official game at that point. And San Francisco won the game. I think 9-1 or something like that, which looks like it was a full 9-inning game. 9 runs in 6 innings. That's not good. Jordan Hicks has been a decent pitcher for San Francisco. He's off to a nice start this year, but the Yankees do okay against him in 40 at-bats. They got an 811 OPS against him because of 3 home runs, although 2 of them are from Judge. 250 batting average against, though, isn't that great. So if I was going to look to do something as far as playing against Hicks in this game, I might look to play like Aaron Judge prop or something. And the only hitting props that I would ever look to really in the MLB is to play runs plus RBIs plus hits plus runs plus RBIs is what you want to do because you get that spread where all these different things can like go well for you, and you'll still be able to get that thing over, even though it's a little bit higher of a total, of course, on that than just playing. What's the other? The other option is just what is it? Total bases, I think, or you can play something like that. But whatever you want, like. The other props you can play, walks, don't count for you in those. So I think what you really want is the hits plus runs plus RBIs, because at least when you play that one, at least when he walks, he can at least score a run. So you're not completely dead with a walk there. It's not a completely useless at bat for you. So Judge specifically kills Hicks. Will Warren is this young pitcher for the Yankees. Not off to a great start, but I mean, he hasn't been that terrible. He had 4 walks in his first game, but started to turn around in the next game, even though it looks like he did worse in that game because he allowed more hits and more runs. But a 5-1 strikeout walk ratio kind of tells me he's getting his command under control, and the Giants have never seen him before. So I think the lean would be to the Yankees in this one. I'm not going to play this one, but that's the lean. Let me see. Where are the Yankees at here? They're up from minus 130 to minus 132. Kind of a cheap price with them in this one. 61% of tickets, 77% of the cash, because you're not getting a name pitcher for the Yankees here. So I think you might get a better price on them in that one. So that would be the lean in that one. That is kind of what I'm doing right now because I do have thoughts on most of them. Toronto-Baltimore is the same analysis that I gave yesterday because except for the fact that both teams had yesterday off, so the under looks a little bit more tempting because now the bullpens are rested. So yesterday's game got postponed, and I don't think they're playing a doubleheader today. So the starting pitching matchup is the same as it was going to be yesterday with Bowden Francis against Sugano. Both of these pitchers are pitchers you kind of want to look to unders because Francis has been really, really good since the later part of last year. Problem I have with this is that he actually doesn't do well against Baltimore. And Baltimore has seen him more than most teams have, at least because they're in the same division. So I don't quite think I want to do the under here, even though it would be maybe still a slight lean that way. And Sugano, I mean, he's a guy that you might see me playing on this year because a lot of lineups are going to have not faced him before. The problem is Baltimore is one of the only lineups that has already faced him before. That was his major league debut was against Baltimore, and he did leave the game early due to soreness, so they probably only saw him like 1 to 2 at bats worth for most of the hitters, but still, they've now at least seen him in a live game environment. So I think that detracts from the under a little bit in this game as well. That would still be the slight lean in that one would be to the under, but I don't think it's quite worthy of it. And I think the money actually is coming in against it as it looks like the line has kind of dropped very slightly from 8.5 juice to the under to 8 juice to the over. I'm going to leave the game alone, like I said. Francis, let me see. I think his numbers are quite bad, actually. Well, 267 average allowed against Baltimore, but 838 OPS is kind of disturbing, although most of it is Mountcastle doing like most of that damage. So again, if you want to look for a hitter's prop, Mountcastle specifically really dominates Bowden Francis. So if you want to look for him and play some of his props, that's where I would look. And again, I would only want hits plus runs plus RBIs, man, like I said, because anything else is bad. And of course, with the home run props, everybody loves the home run props because they like to root for home runs, but I don't like that because you never get good enough odds on it. The Mets are playing the A's. And the A's don't even know who their pitcher is going to be yet. So that's kind of difficult to handicap when you don't even know. So it's probably going to be like a bullpen game for the A's. Bullpen games a lot of times actually work out decently, but when it's an unplanned bullpen game, I don't know that we really want to do it. And I am going to be on a team that is going to throw a bullpen game today. I'm going to play on that team. So I'll talk more about why I like that idea in a little bit, where I used to be kind of opposed to that, but I'm now starting to kind of come around to the fact that it could be an advantage in some cases. David Peterson, I still don't like him as far as, like, he seems to always have a really high whip and just get away with it, but he does have good numbers against this bad A's lineup. But then the problem is, you're also looking at, if you want to look for a total in this game, you're also looking at this Sacramento stadium where every game seems to go over the total. So we're going to avoid that. Finally, we'll get to a play for me here as we get to the 4 p.m. Eastern games before I actually even have a play. And I'm going to play on the Atlanta Braves against Tampa. You get them at an underdog price here, and people are not going to want that. I mean, the Braves off to a terrible start. They're 3-10, so even though the Braves kind of have that weight around their name, oh, it's the Atlanta Braves, everybody knows the Braves are always in the playoffs. The Braves are good, but they're off to such a bad start this year that I think absolutely nobody is really going to want to be on the Braves here. Rays have the better record. The Braves are 0-8 away from home this year, but I think the home advantage might be a little bit less so for the Rays here because they're not playing at Tropicana Field this year. They're playing at Fort Myers they're playing in Florida there. So that is, I believe the Braves are actually familiar with playing there because I think all the Eastern teams, I think, play there for spring training, I believe, right? The eastern half of all the teams, I'm pretty sure, play in Fort Myers for spring training. Or not Fort Myers, but that's where the Red Sox play, but in Florida, I should say. And then the Western teams all play in Arizona, I'm pretty sure is how the spring training goes. So I think the Braves are at least somewhat used to play. This is Steinbrenner Stadium is where this is, which is in Tampa. So yeah, it's a spring training stadium, but I think it's a little bit less of a home advantage for Tampa in this spot here, even though they are off to a 6-4 record there. Atlanta, I mean, they got to be kind of embarrassed here at this point, man. They started off losing the first game of the series, so I think Atlanta's going to come and show some focus here, man. I think Atlanta does maybe still have a bullpen edge here because they have a more rested bullpen, at least, as they use less of their pen yesterday. Even though Bryce Elder didn't do that well, they left him in the game to kind of save their bullpen yesterday. And Elder sucks, man. So I think there's not that much to take away from that game yesterday where Elder is a terrible pitcher. He's the worst in Atlanta's rotation, I would say. So that is part of the reason they lost this game. I think they're going to want to bounce back here, man. Getting them in an underdog, I like this. I'm looking at where's the money here. This is one of those interleague games here. Where we got Tampa is up from minus 125 to minus 130. 54% of tickets coming in on Tampa as the public kind of wants to come in on the team that has the better record here and not play on Atlanta. Basically, the public is probably going to avoid Atlanta unless they see Chris Sale as a starting pitcher or something like that. 61% of the cash coming in on Atlanta, though. So the cash is coming in my direction. The public is also going to see Smith Shawver has awful numbers, 5.19 ERA, 2.19 whip. Yeah, he's off to a terrible start this year, but he's only a 22-year-old, and he's been pretty decent in the majors so far, although he hasn't really pitched in many games so far, most of it in 2023, but his whip was actually pretty good that year. So I think he's a young guy with some talent. That's why they have him out there in their starting pitching rotation, man. And yeah, he's got to get his walk numbers under control. That's the main problem because he has a lot of strikeout ability, 10 strikeouts so far in 8 2/3 this year. He's allowed too many hits, 13 hits and 6 walks. He's got to get that under control, man. But he actually did fairly decently in that first game of the season against the Padres, who are a pretty good hitting team. And then he didn't do as well against Miami, but he still kind of limited the damage. I mean, it's not like his team was out of those games. He got no run support from his offense there, giving up 2 runs and 3 runs. So I think Shawver is better than people think right now. They don't know who he is, really. Looking at his numbers, they won't really know. But Tampa also has never seen him before, so I think that's another edge for, well, only 2 other guys have ever seen him before, and they're 0 for 4 off of him lifetime. And the rest of Tampa's lineup has never seen him before. So I think that's another advantage to Smith Shawver here because he's this young guy with good stuff who these hitters haven't seen before. So that's a little bit of an advantage. Drew Rasmussen is pitching, and I know he has good numbers throughout his career, man. I understand that, but I have hesitation. I have reservations about Rasmussen, man, because a lot of it has been as a reliever. So a lot of times when you're a reliever, it's because you don't have that like stamina. So you'll see better numbers from some of these guys that mostly have relief appearances. He had one full season as a starter. That's all he's had in his career is one full season with Tampa as a starter, and it was all the way back in 2022. And yeah, I know he did well that year as well, but his strikeout number wasn't that high that year. So it was like his strikeout numbers are way higher when he throws less innings, when he throws fewer innings, when he throws like when he's going deeper into games, his strikeout numbers start to dwindle a little bit. I think because he's starting to kind of lose gas as he goes on there. So I still don't really trust Rasmussen, even though I know his career numbers are good. A lot of it is as a reliever. Don't know how long he's going to go in this game, although he's been going basically 5 innings so far. Well, he has gone exactly 5 innings in every game so far. So you are going to have to dip into the bullpen. Yes, I know the Rays bullpen is good. The Rays bullpen is probably better than the Braves bullpen. So they do have the edge there, but I don't think the Rays have the starting pitching edge here, and I certainly don't think they have the hitting edge here, as the Rays offense is their main weak point here. So I think you're going to see the Rays struggle against Smith-Shawver. As far as Rasmussen, he actually does not do well against the Braves. I've only seen him 12 at bats worth, so I know it's a small sample size, but they've hit him to the tune of a 333 average, 968 OPS. So they've done decently against Rasmussen. So I'm going to take the shot, and I'm going to go with the Braves in that one at the underdog price. I think they have enough advantages that you can play them at the underdog price there, and you're getting some value there. Yeah, fuck the Yankees, obviously. The teams that are in the eastern half of the U.S., I'm pretty sure they all play in Florida. I accidentally said Fort Myers because I'm so used to just saying that because that's where the Red Sox play. Next game up is another game I have a play on, and I'm going with a lot of run line plays today. So you can bear with me here. I'm going to lay the run line with Miami, and you can get that at -1, -108 on DraftKings, because when it gets up above like -150 as far as the money line, I start to be like, I don't really want to do that. I think you might be able to lay -140 something with Miami. So if you want to do that and lay the money line, I think that's fine as well. You can go do that, but I like to, try to cut down on the price a little bit. And I think we can get some run lines, especially with DraftKings offering these alternate run lines here. And some of the other sites I think might as well. You can find some decent prices on these. And with that, at least you knock the price down. The only thing is if they win by 1, your bet will push instead of win. Whereas obviously if they win by 1, you'll win on the money line. But I think it's worth it because it's a little bit more risk averse, I guess, but you won't lose money doing it. And now that I'm back on a hot run, maybe I'm like getting a little bit more risk averse here. Would you think I'd be the opposite and I'd be getting all cocky, but whatever. And of course, if Miami wins by more than 1, we're going to win the bet as well. I like Miami in this one, man. And I know it's going to take a little bit for this awful Miami offense to actually score enough to actually make this not just a push, but a win here. But I like how this sets up for Miami. Miami just returned home and they lost to the Nats yesterday, 7-4. I always tell you, return home spot, you tend to be a little bit distracted. It's not a great spot. And Miami, I mean, who pitched for Miami in this game? It was Cabrera. I forget what his name is. Edward Cabrera. He's a decent pitcher with some decent strikeout stuff. I forgot he was back, actually. I think they didn't even have their starting pitcher announced, or I think they had a last-minute switch in their starting pitching, but I'm not too worried about this. So, I mean, he did okay yesterday. He's an okay strikeout pitcher. I keep expecting him to start turning his career around a little bit. Mitchell Parker pitched for the Nats, and he is a better pitcher. I mentioned I liked the Nats yesterday. I almost bet it. I wish I did because it was the return home spot for the Marlins. It was a good spot to play the Nats yesterday. They won, but now I think this is a much worse spot for the Nats and a better spot for Miami because when a team returns home and they play an ugly game like that, they tend to get more focus in that next game, play a little bit better. So they're in a better spot, and I think the pitching matchup is way better for Miami in this game. Up from -135 to -148, 64% of tickets, 82% of the cash coming in on Miami. The public isn't really going to want the Miami Marlins here, man. But I do. And I think the public doesn't really know who the starting pitcher is for them. But again, I do, and I want it. Nats, by the way, that game last night, that was their first win on the road this season, where at least Miami is at 500 at home. So maybe the home advantage is slightly better for Miami here. But we're looking at Trevor Williams pitching for Washington. I know I played on him in one of his games so far, and I think I lost on the game. I don't think he did quite that well. I think it was this game against Toronto. He gave up way too many hits. I do think Williams is not quite as bad as he might look with a 5.40 ERA, 1.7 whip. That's not good, but his career numbers really aren't very good. 4.32 ERA, 1.36 whip overall in his career. He had this weird outlier season last year. It was only a 13-start season, so maybe because it was a shortened season, that made him look better. And that's really the only time he was good since a full season back in 2018 with the Pirates, where he actually had a really good season. Other than those 2 seasons, hasn't been good. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys. So I know I pumped him up a little bit because I try to justify on my plays a little bit. And I think he had good numbers against Toronto, which is part of the reason why I wanted to be on him in that game against Toronto. I do not want to be on him in this game against Miami. Miami, I know that they only have 3 batters who've ever faced him before. One of them is Cabrera, the pitcher who pitched yesterday, so he's not going to hit, obviously, so we can throw that out. So take out that 1 extra at bat. And the 2 guys that have seen him are 4 for 6 off of him lifetime. So that's even worse than what this 571 average and a 1,429 OPS is. It's actually a 667 average. I don't even know what the OPS would be. I know it's a small sample size, so Miami's hitters haven't seen him that much, but he is the way worst pitcher in the starting pitching matchup, man. And if you looked yesterday, the Nats used like their closer yesterday, so they used some of the back end of their bullpen. So even though I think Miami might have used 1 additional reliever to what the Nats did yesterday, I think the bullpen situation, a bit of a wash. Neither bullpen is that good anyway, but the Nats used some of their best relievers yesterday. So I think that's kind of a disadvantage to them as well. And I think we're probably going to get our starter here from Miami going deeper into this game than what we get out of Williams here. And by the way, Xavier Edwards, 4 for 4 off of him with 2 doubles and an RBI. So again, if you want to look to the player prop market, Xavier Edwards, hits plus runs plus RBIs, could be a way to look because he kills Williams. On the other side, Alcantara is pitching for Miami. Sandy Alcantara, this guy, he's basically their ace, man. He's a really good pitcher, and I think people forgot about him because he was injured all last year, so he never pitched last year. He had not as good a season the year prior to that he was having throughout his career, but he's been really, really good throughout his career, man, with a 3.32 ERA, 1.15 whip over his career, and he looks like he's in line for a bounce-back season here, man, after a kind of not great season and then a season away from baseball. So far this year, he was shaky in his first start, although he limited the damage to only 2 earned runs because he only allowed 2 hits against Pittsburgh, but he had 4 walks. And what I like is that in his next start against the Mets, who have a decent offense, he only allowed 2 earned runs, went 5 innings in that one, and didn't walk anybody. It had 4 strikeouts. So I think he's on the right trajectory here, starting to turn around. And we know Alcantara at this point, man. He's a very unheralded pitcher because he pitches for Miami, but he's a guy that if he was on some other team, he would be a much more known quantity in Major League Baseball. He's a very good pitcher. He's still only 29. I think he's still got his stuff. And against Washington, yeah, they're very familiar with him, so he is the more familiar pitcher, but in a huge 115 at-bat sample size, he's got a 20-6 strikeout walk ratio and has held him to a 174 average and 458 OPS. So he's held him to a ridiculously low batting average and OPS for that sample size. That's actually crazy that he's held him to numbers that are that low. So Alcantara is the way better pitcher in this matchup. So we're going to go with Miami, and it does look like the market agrees with it as well. I think the situation lines up for it as well. So on the Marlins there, my Boston Red Sox I'm not going to play, although they should be in line for a bounce back here against the White Sox, who beat them 11-1 just in total embarrassing fashion yesterday. I do think the Red Sox should win this game, but you're laying a big price here with Dick Fitz on the mound for the Red Sox here. Up from minus 145 to minus 153 now, 79% of tickets, 95% of the cash. I mean, the Red Sox will be public, but I think this is one of those games where public and professional agreement on this one is going to just knock this line way out of whack. You're going to be laying a little bit too much of a price for the Red Sox, in my opinion. When I first saw this game, I was like, oh, I want to play the Red Sox here because they got killed yesterday. So they're in a nice bounce back spot here, getting killed by this bad Chicago team. And I'm like, oh, they have a pitcher on the mound that I want to be on because Fitz, yeah, I think without a doubt Fitz is the way better pitcher over Martin Perez. You got a young pitcher with good stuff in Fitz against an old pitcher that doesn't really have his velocity anymore, Martin Perez, who's really relying on his control at this point. So I would like the Red Sox for all those reasons. Problem is, I was expecting that Fitz had never faced the White Sox before, but that's not the case. And he actually has done bad against the White Sox, badly. The White Sox, 5 guys have seen him before. 5 guys. I'm going to get some burgers and fries here, man. Fitz has had only 11 at bats worth against him, but still they're 5 for 11 off him for a 455 OPS with a walk in there as well for 455 average. Excuse me, OPS would be pretty good. 955 OPS. So Fitz has actually done really bad against the White Sox. He has not really given them fits. Martin Perez on the other side is off to a ridiculous start. 0.73 ERA. He's only allowed 1 run so far and 4 hits in 12 and a third inning. So he's walked 5 guys, which is a little bit alarming. His strikeout number, I think, is going to go down. I don't think he's really that much of a strikeout pitcher anymore at his age in his mid-30s now, but he is off to a good start. Doesn't do that well against the Red Sox, where they have more walks than strikeouts against him. 11 walks. 7 of them are Bregman. So, again, player prop shout out here to Bregman. I mean, he does really well in a big sample size against Perez. Bregman should help the Red Sox here. Bregman also has faced Perez way more because they were in the same division for a while when Bregman was on Houston and Perez was on Texas, I believe. So Bregman is specifically very familiar with him. So player prop shout out there to Bregman if you want to go hits, runs, RBIs on him. That's fine. Perez, 286 average against 757 OPS. So mediocre numbers for Perez against the Red Sox hitters. I'm going to leave the game alone. I still do lean to the Red Sox slightly in that one. Stacks, what's up, man? Yeah, obviously the Red Sox have to do better. Dude, they started going all small ball with like Craig Breslow in the front office there, and I think he's a douche. I think he seems scripted when he talks to the public. I don't like him. I'm starting to watch the Red Sox, the new Netflix documentary that's out that followed them last year. I don't like it at all, man. The Red Sox unloaded all of their players that won the except for Devers. They unloaded all the rest of their players that were on that championship team in 2018. And they're like, no, we want to build from within and not pay that much money anymore. But I'm like, dude, I don't care what you think. That's still not the way that it works. Like Oakland was that prime small ball team, the Oakland A's with Billy Beane there. Did they ever win a championship? No, they didn't. They overperformed for sure, and they did well, but they never won the championship. You still know that you need to be like, you're going to have a better chance to win the championship if you're a big market team. Like, who do you think has the best chance to win the World Series this year? It's the LA Dodgers. And why is that? It's because they're spending a shit ton of money. They completely stacked their starting rotation and their offense. That's what you're going to do. And yeah, I actually do think the Dodgers are probably going to win the World Series again. I haven't seen a season like this where one team is actually that much above like the rest of the teams. So I actually think that is the case with the Dodgers this year. I mean, it's baseball, so anything can happen, but still, I don't like this Red Sox small ball bullshit. I mean, you want like a mix of small ball and big ball, basically. That's how you do it. Obviously, you want to find value out there in the player market, which the Red Sox didn't even do that last year. They made no offseason signings going into last year's season. This year, they made a couple. I mean, Bregman, probably a decent pickup for them. I don't think Buehler is. I think they're overpaying for that guy. So I don't know. I just don't like what's going on with the Red Sox at all. But now I'm going off on tangents here. Yeah, I mean, I like all these sports documentaries. I mean, there's no way it's as good as the 2004 documentary that's out there, The Comeback, which was 3 episodes, and they did 8 episodes following the team last year. But the interesting thing about last year, I mean, the Red Sox had a terrible season last year, but the interesting thing about it is just to see like the inner workings. You get interviews with some of the players. You get to know more about the players. And some of these Red Sox players are definitely characters that you like. You know me, I like Duran, not just because he's slurring out there and yelling slurs at opposing fans, but like some of these guys are they're just wild characters, man. And by the way, shout out to Jaron Duran, who admitted that he was suicidal for a while. He admits that in the documentary, so he's definitely my homeboy, man. Yeah, Ohtani, I mean, he's obviously the best player in the league, and it seems like he's potentially going to be pitching again this year too, which is really insane. I think he's been away from pitching for 2 seasons or something now because of some shoulder injury. He's still been able to hit but not pitch, and it seems like he's working out as far as he's like doing pitching now as well. So I think we're going to see him pitch at some point this season probably, which is insane to think about. And you're allowed to have your pitcher hit in the lineup still, even though both teams have the DH. I'm pretty sure you're still allowed to have the pitcher just be in the lineup. So I think we're going to see games where he might start the game as a starting pitcher and also be in the batting lineup. Oh, man. I don't think we've really seen that before because Anaheim was in the American League who had the DH, or maybe they did. Maybe they did say we're going to just not have a DH here and we'll hit him, but I don't know. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how it went down, but whatever. Kansas City, Cleveland, yeah, I'm going to just hit every one of these games, whatever. Michael Lorenzen, I mean, he has a good he's off to a good start this year for sure. Had a nice performance against Minnesota. I still don't think he's that good. And up against Cleveland, hasn't done that great with an 879 OPS allowed, 8.8 strikeout walk ratio, 265 average isn't that bad, but he's kind of struggled against these Cleveland hitters. Luis Ortiz is new to Cleveland this year, and he's off to not a good start, but that was mostly because his first game against San Diego was terrible. He bounced back and had a much better performance against Anaheim, although he allowed 2 home runs in that game. Against Kansas City, his numbers are a bit better, 242 average allowed, 780 OPS, still a little bit high, so I'm staying off of that game as well. But I think the lean would be Cleveland in that one again, even though they did win yesterday as well. I think Ortiz does have the advantage over Lorenzen in that pitching matchup. Ortiz up from Cleveland up from -120 to -128, but 54% take it, 68% of the cash coming in on Cleveland. Not a game that I'm interested in actually playing. Let's get to the other games I am playing, though. I'm not playing this game with Cincinnati either. Andrew Abbott will make his return, by the way. So he's coming off of injury. So a lot of times I do think that when a starting pitcher who's kind of proven himself and he's a decent pitcher, and I would say Abbott is, when he comes back from injury, I think you get a little bit of value on him because the feeling is like, oh, we want to approach him with caution because we don't know if he's ready or whatever. But if he's going to start a major league game, I think he is going to be ready. The issue is just all that time off because it also includes the off season and whatever. Sometimes it does take a little bit of time to get back into it as far as that's concerned. So I think it's a little bit of the opposite of the reverse injured player theory because there's no like chemistry involved there. It's really just about that starting pitcher himself. Just how is he going to react to this? So is he going to be like nervous, not having played for a while, or is he just this proven pitcher where I think that is probably the case here where he won't be as nervous. He does have to get used to playing in an actual game environment again. But again, I think that you might get a little bit of value on him because he is returning from injury. And a lot of times the guy's excited to get back out there. Maybe the case with Abbott here, but the money is coming in against him in this one. And on Andrew Heaney, down from -125 to -121, 67% of tickets, only 59% of the cash. So a lot of market indicators on Pittsburgh with reverse line movement against a somewhat public Cincinnati team. I don't know that I would agree with that. Heaney off to a very good start this season, but look at what he just did, man. He's only given up 1 run in each game. I mean, against Miami, nobody cares about that, but he just dominated the Yankees. But I pointed out when I talked about that game that Heaney actually had really good historical numbers against Yankees hitters. For some reason, he steps up against the Yankees and does really well against the Yankees, and he completely dominated them. So his numbers look really good. I think people are going to want to be on Heaney after he did that, but I don't really agree with it in this game. I think he takes a little bit of a step back here. And I know Yankee Stadium is a hitter's park, and so is Great American Ballpark here, so it's not great for pitchers. So he did just pitch really well in that hitting park there. But against the Reds, he's not quite as good, allowing a 250 average, which isn't that bad, but an 863 OPS, although specifically it is Candelario who's completely destroyed him with 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 2 doubles, and 7 at-bats. So, again, player prop watch there on Candelario there could do really well against Heaney because he does historically. So I'm going to stay away from this game. And then Andrew Abbott, like I said, he is returning from the DL or whatever it's called now, batter versus pitcher. Let's go. I hate how ESPN doesn't give you the batter versus pitcher tab here. For some reason, it disappears until the pitcher is pitched. Again, Abbott has done okay against Pittsburgh, 261 average allowed, 10-1 strikeout walk ratio is very good, but 857 OPS. But again, it's one guy doing the damage. Hayes with 2 home runs against him. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to just stay away from that game. A game I am on, and this is the game I was going to talk about with the bullpen game. Houston Astros run line. You can find it -110 right now. Instead of laying the -160 or whatever on Houston, or 150 whatever, You can find the run line and make it just turn it into a spread bet on DraftKings. And again, I think that's good because if they win the game by 1, which is really all they're motivated to do is to try to win the game by any means, then at least the bet pushes instead of losing. And that's better for a home team. As I've pointed out, even though I've done it a couple of times, laying the 1.5 run line, which I still will kind of do if the price is like that high. I'll still kind of want to do that just to knock the price down on like a huge favorite. But the problem is with the home team laying the 1.5 runs, if they're winning the game into the bottom of the 9th, they won't bat in the bottom of the 9th. The game will be over. So you potentially get one fewer inning for that team to bat. So it's a little bit dangerous to do that. But with the -1 run line in this game, it's right at the price that I like. And I think we're going to get, what was I even going to say? I think we're going to get a good performance out of Houston here. But what I was going to say is that it also means that you'll get the push if they win by 1 rather than taking a loss. I mean, you got the Angels off to an 8-5 start, which does look good. I know they're above 500 on the road. Astros below 500 and below 500 at home. But the Astros are favored for a reason, man. People are going to look at this and think, who the hell is Ryan Gusto? Nobody's going to want him. I don't think anybody's really going to want to lay a favorite price like this on the Astros, who have the worst record, haven't been playing well, but I think it's the right way to go. The line's up from -138 to -151. I am a little bit worried about the fact that it's 81% of tickets on them. I would not expect the public to really be on Houston here, even though they are the named team here. But looking at the team's records so far, it's like, how could Houston be favored by this much? Only 78% of the cash on them. We'll see if the market changes by the time the game goes off, but I don't like this for Anaheim, man. Houston, I know they just won and completely embarrassed Anaheim, so that is one reason to maybe look for Anaheim here, and I got this game completely wrong. Kohanowitz fell apart in the game, didn't do well. Blanco did better than I thought. I mean, based on the matchup, I thought it was going to be completely different because I like those young pitchers that haven't been seen before by the opposing lineups. Blanco didn't have good numbers against the Angels. As far as the bullpen is concerned, I mean, both teams kind of had similar bullpen usage yesterday, so I'm not going to take that much away from the bullpen scenario here. I'm just going to look starting pitching matchup-wise. I think we actually do get the advantage for Houston here. It's Tyler Anderson, 1.30 whip so far this year is not great. 4.5 ERA should probably be a little bit worse with a 1.3 whip. And against Houston, doesn't do well at all. And we have a huge sample size to look at here. 159 at bats worth. Houston's hitters hit him for an average of 321 and 904 OPS. So Houston's offense has wrecked Tyler Anderson. So I think we're going to get a decent offensive showing from Houston here, even though their offense has really been struggling so far. Facing a pitcher that they're very familiar with and that they've done really well against in the past, I think is a recipe for success. And Ryan Gusto, we're going for the Gusto here. What are we going to get out of this guy? I don't know, because he's a 26-year-old. This is his only major league season so far, and he's made all relief appearances so far, I'm pretty sure. Maybe, I don't know if any of these were opener performances, but I think he's mostly come out of the pen. So what we're going to get out of Gusto here is he's only going to go a few innings. But what I like about this is that is what he's used to. He's only going to pitch a few innings. His numbers are good so far this season with a 9.2 strikeout walk ratio. Only 8 innings pitched. He's only allowed 1 earned run. It was on a home run against San Francisco, who's been doing well so far this year. The fact, all of that, I like Gusto, how he's been pitching so far. And then against Anaheim, they've never seen him before. So Gusto could have a little bit of the advantage when he's out there on the mound, because Anaheim is not familiar with this guy. They've never seen him before. I don't know. I didn't even look at what the scouting is on him, so I'm not quite sure. But he is mostly a reliever. But I think what that means is, yeah, we're going to get a bullpen game out of Houston here. But I think what's good about that is that Gusto will maybe give you a few innings here, and the hitters won't be familiar with him at that time. So he should be able to keep them in check a little bit. And then after that, Houston can like mix and match starters. So the bullpen game is a little bit underrated. And I know Detroit was the team that was really doing that last year, where they were down to basically just Skubal as being their best starter once Olsen was hurt and whatever. They're mostly going bullpen games otherwise. But the thing about the bullpen games is it keeps the opposing hitters off guard, because you can look at who are the hitters that are up next in this next inning when you're going to switch pitchers. And you could be like, I'm going to put in a pitcher now that matches up better against these hitters. So the manager gets to play like the matchup game there. And they can also like kind of mix and match pitchers where they might have like a pitcher that throws gas out there first and then put in some pitcher that throws like a lot of slow junk, which can really throw the hitters off because they're used to like facing high heaters. Then all of a sudden they have to face junk pitches. So that can really keep the hitters kind of off balance. So the bullpen game is a little bit underrated. Yeah, so we'll take Houston in that one, even though they did win easily yesterday. I still think Houston, they got to get back to 500, man. So that kind of puts it over the top for me. The fact that they're that much of a favorite and they're still below 500 there. Milwaukee and Arizona, I'm actually going to take Milwaukee. I'm going to go run line on the underdog here. You can play money line on the underdog if you want. I wouldn't be opposed to that, to just play them to win the game. But I'm being a pussy today. I'm being a little bit safe here, and I'm going to take the +1 run line here, which you can get it even money here. And then when you do that, of course, throw a little bit on the money line as well. Put like 10% of the bet on the money line because you're basically saying you think they might be able to win this game. I like how this sets up for Milwaukee in this game against Arizona. Arizona's up from -170 to -172. I'm a little bit worried the cash is coming in Arizona. 77% of tickets, 86% of the cash coming in on Arizona. A lot of it is because Corbin Burns, we're expecting him to bounce back here. I don't know if that's going to be the case. And Arizona lost 7-0 yesterday to Milwaukee. So I think Arizona is going to want to bounce back here. And they pretty much saved their bullpen a little bit yesterday. So both bullpens did not really get used yesterday. Quintana somehow, last-minute start for Quintana yesterday. I think that was his first start of the season, and he did well. Again, he continues to defy expectation here, man, as an old guy that throws junk, pitching well again. He was good for the Mets last year. I don't get it. Don't understand it. He pitched against Milwaukee, I think, in the playoffs last year, and now he's doing well for Milwaukee because Milwaukee hadn't even announced a starter yesterday, and they went with him. He did well. An embarrassing loss for Arizona. I think Arizona is going to or an embarrassing loss for what am I saying? Arizona lost. What am I saying? And I'm going to be on Milwaukee again here, even though Milwaukee won yesterday. What am I saying? Excuse me. I'm on two teams that won easily yesterday. I apologize. Excuse me. So Milwaukee won easily yesterday, but I'm on Milwaukee again here today. I think the line is too high in Arizona here, man. The bullpens again. In both cases, the bullpens were saved. So I think the bullpen is a little bit of a wash here, although Arizona does have the better bullpen, so it does worry me a little bit. But I'm still going full game on this just to play the run line on this one. We're going with Chad Patrick here. He's off to a decent start this year. He's a young guy with pretty good stuff, man. He's improving from start to start here. I know he's got to get his walk numbers down with 7 walks so far, but his strikeout numbers are good. He has not allowed a lot of hits. 10 strikeouts, 7 hits, and 11 innings pitched so far. He's good, and the thing I like about this is that he's a young guy with good stuff, and the Diamondbacks have never faced him before. So I think we're going to get a little bit of an edge from Chad Patrick in this game for that reason. And then on the other side of things, like I always say, those young pitchers with good stuff, when hitters haven't seen them before, they tend to struggle a little bit. Corbin Burns, you're paying a tax for him because he's the known pitcher. We know he's good. We know he's an ace, but he is not off to a good start. His first season with the Diamondbacks, not good, and I understand the first game was against the Yankees, so you give him a pass for that. He doesn't do well against the Yankees. That was in a hitter's park, but then what the fuck did he do against Washington, where he walked 4 guys and only struck out 3? So I think these are some red flags, man, with Burns to start the season. The fact that he has 7 walks, 11 strikeouts is good, but 7 walks is crazy. He's putting way too many men on base so far, and yeah, I know he's going to get better, but this is also going to be his first home start for Arizona, so it might pump him up a little bit, but it's also a hitter's park that he's maybe not quite as familiar with. And the other thing is he's facing the Brewers, who are his former team. He was on the Brewers 2 years ago, so the Brewers have a lot of guys who, were able to take batting practice against him, hit against him, practice against him. The Brewers have guys that know Burns' tendencies, man, because I think you got some coaches on this Brewers team that know who Burns is, and they know how to hit against him. So I think Milwaukee has a bit of an edge here against Burns coaching-wise because they know what his tendencies are, and it's panned out so far. After he left Milwaukee, small sample size, 17 at-bats, but when he's faced his former team, Milwaukee, he hasn't done well. And they've hit him to the tune of a 294 average and 898 OPS. So Burns hasn't done that well against him. We're going to fade him here, and we'll take the run line underdog on that one. Next up, another run line underdog on Colorado. We're going to play on the Rockies, which you can get at -105 right now. I like this one quite a bit. San Diego, we got reverse line movement here now in a very public San Diego. They were up to minus 180 at one point, and the line has now crashed. So I think the public kind of drove this line up, and now the professional bettors are starting to come in and take Colorado because they know what I know, which I'm going to talk about in a second. San Diego down from minus 166 to minus 163, 96% of tickets on them, only 81% of the cash. I think we have a huge edge in the starting pitching matchup with Colorado here, man. With Chase Dollander, who I'll talk about in a minute. I played on him in, I believe, what was his major league debut. And I'm going to do it again here. And San Diego embarrassed Colorado yesterday. They beat them 8-0. It was an easy win for them. Bullpen usage wasn't a lot on either side. So the bullpen's kind of a wash. Although, yeah, obviously San Diego has the better bullpen. I mean, Colorado sucks all around, except that the starting pitching matchup, I think, is a huge advantage for Colorado here. And I'm going full game just because I can play the underdog run line at this price and hope that it pans out. If you want to go first 5 inning on this one, I think that's fine as well. You're going to get a decent underdog price there as well, though probably less of a big underdog price because the odds makers also know the big advantage for Colorado in this game is the starting pitching matchup, and that's what I'm going with here. Dollander has only made one start, I believe, in his major league career, and his ERA looks terrible, so the public isn't going to want to be on him. But he had a 6-1 strikeout walk ratio, and his team won the game. I know it was against the A's, who suck. But, I mean, this is in Coors Field, man. So, again, this game is not going to be in Coors Field. So, Dollander, he got thrown into the fire right away and had to play in Coors Field, and he gave up 2 home runs. So, it's actually pretty impressive that he only allowed 4 runs in that game. 6-1 strikeout walk ratio is good. That tells me he was in command. Dollander is a really good young pitcher, man. Good stuff. Only 23 years old, good fastball. I mean, he's one of the highly touted Rockies prospects, and he's got like good breaking stuff as well, I'm pretty sure. So he's good. And it looks like his control, which has kind of been one of his issues in the past, wasn't an issue in that first start. We're going to go with him. And, of course, he gets a much pitcher-friendly park here, playing in San Diego this time, although he's facing a better lineup in San Diego's offense. But even still, San Diego has never seen him before, so I think he has the advantage there. When you get this young, like very highly touted prospect like this who we know has good stuff, he now has a game under his belt, and the opposing hitters have never seen him before, yeah, that's a big advantage to Colorado. We're going with Dollander. Kyle Hart is pitching, and what the fuck is there to like about this guy? Who the fuck even is this guy? He's 32 years old, and the only times he's appeared in the majors were 3 starts for the Red Sox, which I don't remember at all, in 2020, and he did horrifically. With a 15.5 ERA that year and 3 WHIP, which is unbelievably bad. And he has 2 starts so far with San Diego this year with an 11 ERA and over a 2 WHIP. So, like, what are we doing here, man? Who is this guy? I mean, he looks like he's basically is just a body to throw out there because we need another starter. Yeah, we'll just throw this guy out there. Whatever. We need a guy to just pitch. I mean, what are we even talking about here? He did actually have a decent start against Cleveland, I guess. 5 innings, 2 runs, allowed 4-1 strikeout walk ratio. And then against the Cubs, he didn't even last an inning, and he gave up 5 earned runs and walked 4 guys and didn't strike out anybody. This guy is no good, so I don't really care that Colorado's never seen Hart before. We have that is the case with both starting pitchers, but I think this is a complete mismatch with Dollander being the young phenom pitcher here against Kyle Hart, who's an old corpse pretty much. I don't know why he's even in the major leagues, to be honest. We'll take the Colorado run line in that one and hope the full game winds up still being fine there. What would be nuts? Ohtani pitching again? Yeah. Yeah, you think? Yeah, this Kyle Hart guy, not good, needless to say. And then I do have one more play. I don't have a play in Chicago and the Cubs. This looks like a decent pitching match. I mean, Ben Brown is kind of a young pitcher with good stuff for the Cubs here. He's got good strikeout stuff, but it hasn't totally panned out for him yet. He hasn't done well this year, although actually last year he did wind up doing pretty well with a 1.08 WHIP. Actually, a pretty good strikeout walk numbers, really good strikeout numbers. So actually scratch that. I actually think Brown is going to start turning it around. I mean, this year he has bad numbers, but I mean, he had to pitch at that ridiculous A's stadium. He faced the Dodgers and he faced San Diego at home. I mean, those are not easy tasks, facing 2 really good lineups in the Padres and the Dodgers, and then facing the A's in that hitter's park. So he's done okay this season so far. You'd like to see the walk number go down which he didn't walk a lot of guys last year. So I think we will see the walk number go down. He's allowed too many hits. I think you're going to see Brown turn it around based on what we saw at him last year. I think he's better than these awful numbers look so far. So again, you got to look at these early numbers and think, oh, well, this guy's numbers are misleading because if you look at like a larger sample size, he's actually good. Or on the other hand, like what I just said with Hart, is this guy's numbers are terrible and they're actually like an accurate representation of who he is. Ben Brown, though, he hasn't done that well against the Dodgers, and only 12 at bats worth spread out across like all of their hitters. He's allowed a 333 average and 800 OPS, so that's not great, even though he's a decent young pitcher. Dodgers have hit him okay. Not surprising. I mean, Dodgers lineup is good. And then you got Sasaki pitching for the Dodgers, who is their young Japanese pitcher that they brought over this year. And I think he's going to do well this season. He's been a little bit shaky. Hasn't gone a full 5 innings yet, but I think we see some improvement out of him as he only gave up 1 run against the Phillies, and his team won in that last start against them. So I think we are seeing him improve a little bit here. Problem is he did face the Cubs already in his first game, so it's not a situation where, oh, this guy is new, he's going to be unfamiliar to the hitters. No, the hitters are familiar with him because they just saw him for 3 innings, and he was shaky in that game. He walked 5 guys. I think that was one of the games in Tokyo in late March there. They had those weird Tokyo games. I think that was one of them, but that means the Cubs have seen him before. So if you were gonna look at this game and look to play an under, I would have my hesitations on that. Although Sasaki, even though he did walk those 5 guys, he actually did still hold them to a 111 batting average and still only wound up being a 540 OPS. So I do think Sasaki is probably the way to look here because we have a larger sample size. With Ben Brown, he's been worse, but the money is coming in against the Dodgers, down from minus 180 to minus 168, 90% of tickets, 87% of the cash. Money coming in on the Cubs against a very public Dodgers team. Don't know if I agree with that in that one. And under, I mean, you could argue it's still worth a look here. Total up from 8.5 to 9. 8.5 juice to the over to 9 juice to the under. A very small move up, but public is always going to be on the overs in these Dodgers-Cubs games. 81% of tickets, only 75% of the cash. So I don't have any totals today. I was on the under in the game in that series last night. This game, I think, is much more sketchy to get on the under in that one. Not a lot of room for error there with the offenses like that and with pitchers that I would have my reservations about there. I almost said hesitations again. I meant reservations. And then we'll finish this off with just a straight-up moneyline dog on Texas, and I'm dogging the market read here. I'm going against the market. Seattle's up from minus 135 to minus 141, 64% of tickets, 89% of the cash coming into them. So the public is coming in, and it looks like the actual money, all of it is coming in Seattle. I mean, the professional handicappers like Brian Wu, and I like him as well. He's a good pitcher. He's definitely good. He's been around for a few years now. A good young pitcher. He's not a guy that comes in and like blows you away, but he's a guy with good control, walks very few hitters, and he is tough to figure out. So Wu is good, but I'm going to go against him here, and I will explain why. Now, Seattle won the first game of the series last night 5-3. So good win for Seattle. So now we're looking at this, and yeah, I know it looks bad to take the Rangers. I mean, it looks like almost a public like square play to take the Rangers, who have a better record than the Mariners. But the Rangers, I think they have the better offense. And the bullpens, I think, are kind of a wash here. And I would argue that the Rangers have the starting pitching edge in this game, or it's at least not obvious that they don't. In this game, yesterday, DeGrom didn't do well. I told you I had a few hesitations about looking to the under in that game because DeGrom and Miller actually both had bad numbers against these opposing lineups. So I stayed away from that game where on the surface it looked like it was going to be a nice under game. And I think the game went over barely, right? Because the total was low in this game. I'm pretty sure it did go over. So, yeah, DeGrom didn't do well in that game. But because of that, Texas actually wound up kind of saving their bullpen, whereas Seattle actually used more of their bullpen yesterday and used the back end of their bullpen. So Seattle used their better relievers. So I think Texas, they have the more rested bullpen, and some of their better relievers are available in this game. So I like that. Going full game here as the underdog, and I know I'm going right back to it. I'm playing Kumar Rocker again, man, and I've gotten rocked by him. He's gotten rocked a little bit, but he's still a young guy with really good stuff and a good fastball, and I think he's going to start turning it around, man, at some point. And I think maybe we're seeing that he's going to do that, even though that strikeout number's concerning. Really had one strikeout against Tampa. I know their offense sucks, but he went 5 innings and only allowed 1 run in that game and didn't walk anybody. So that shows me, I think he's starting to turn it around as well. We're seeing some good, that's at least indicative of kind of a good trajectory for Rocker, that we're looking at maybe some improvement out of him. He didn't do well, but he was at Great American Ballpark, man, in his first game. I know the Reds can't hit, but still, that's a tough assignment to have to pitch in that stadium to open the season. So I think we're going to get some better performances out of Rocker. I know Seattle saw him. They're one of the few offenses that actually did see him last year, but he did well against them in 11 at-bats. He only allowed 1 hit, 7 strikeouts to 1 walk. So he absolutely dominated the Seattle lineup when he saw them last year. And Seattle's lineup isn't good, to say the least. So he struck out 7 of them in 11 at-bats. That's insane. And it amounted to an 091 average and 258 OPS. So that all is looking good. And then Brian Wu, yeah, I know he's good. I like to play on Wu. I like to play on unders when he's pitching at home. I love all that. He's doing well this year, only allowing 8 hits, 11-3 strikeout walk ratio. All good stuff, man. Although one of the games was at home against this awful A's lineup where I think he completely dominates them. He didn't do as well at San Francisco, who does have a little bit of a better lineup. Didn't look that great there. Texas, they at least have talent, even though it hasn't really come to fruition yet. Their offense has struggled so far. They have pretty good hitters, and they've actually done well against Wu in a good sample size, 58 at-bats worth. They have 4 home runs off him, and none of their hitters have more than 1, so those home runs have spread out across their lineup. Seager and Semien have done really well against him. They each have a homer off him, and they're combined, whatever that is, 8 for 13 off him, which is crazy. So again, player prop market, if you want to look to Seager or Semien, it might make sense there. But those 2 guys have done well. Texas's lineup as a whole have done really well against them. 310 batting average allowed and 934 OPS. So yes, Wu is good, and I do want to play on him more often than not. But in this game, I think he does not have the advantage in the starting pitching matchup, and that's it. That's going to do it. Hour and a half video here, man, and the games are about to start shortly. Once again, we got hockey, Islanders minus 105, Blue Jackets plus 115, Blackhawks on the puck line plus 1.5. Baseball, we got Miami minus 1 on the run line, Atlanta money line plus 118, Houston run line minus 1, Milwaukee run line plus 1, Colorado run line plus 1, Texas plus 125 on the money line. That's going to do it. Thanks a lot, guys, for hanging out. I appreciate it. Tower Gang Tone on Twitter, patreon.com/Tower Gang to support the most hilarious offensive podcast out there. We got to get those last couple episodes up there on the Patreon. I will get around to it, although I will be out tonight, but eventually I will. Let's get to it, man. Let's have a winning day again today. Let's keep it rolling. Peace, guys. Thanks.